everyone. Welcome to the podcast. It's Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. Today in the headlines, the traitorous Liz Cheney loses her Wyoming primary to Harriet Hageman. Good riddance. The MAGA movement and conservatives look to unseal the affidavit to show fraud behind the raid at Mar-a-Lago. And COVID is over. Get over it. Most people feel they were fooled by the pandemic scare and don't want more boosters. What is Paxlovid Mouth? Pfizer's antiviral drug literally leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. I'll be talking about these headlines and more coming up right now. So this is from Fox News. Lawmakers, pundits react to Liz Cheney's loss in Wyoming. Girl, bye. Cheney was defeated in the race by Harriet Hageman, a Republican who was endorsed by Trump. Their lead says today that several Republican lawmakers and conservative pundits took to social media Tuesday night to share their thoughts after Representative Liz Cheney, one of 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach former President Trump, lost her primary election in Wyoming. Cheney currently serves as the vice chair to the January 6th committee investigating the Capitol protests. Lost the Wyoming primary election to Republican Harriet Hageman, a Trump-backed primary challenger. This is from Forbes. Representative Liz Cheney loses in landslide to Trump-backed Hageman. Trump-endorsed attorney Harriet Hageman cruised to victory Tuesday over Representative Liz Cheney in a GOP primary for Wyoming's lone House seat, ousting the three-term Congresswoman who became one of the faces of the Republican opposition to former President Donald Trump. She lost by about 30 points. ABC News, Liz Cheney loses primary as Trump topples most of his most prominent GOP critic. Good riddance. From Newsweek, Trump supporters reacting to Liz Cheney's defeat in the aftermath of political defeat that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. Donald Trump supporters are bidding Republican U.S. Representative Liz Cheney good riddance, a gloating remark that is now trending on Twitter. Wyoming's representative lost her bid for re-election at the state's GOP primary as Trump-endorsed candidate Harriet Hageman triumphed with a 37-point margin over Cheney. In the New York Post, Trump gloats over nemesis Liz Cheney's primary loss, calls her fool. Former President Donald Trump was quick to gloat over the crushing Wyoming Republican primary election loss of his nemesis Liz Cheney, calling her a fool who should be ashamed of herself. Trump, 76, took to his Truth Social late Tuesday to hail the very decisive win by challenger he backed, Harriet Hageman, saying the very big Liz Cheney loss was far bigger than had ever been anticipated. So moving on to the affidavit news, this is from CNN. Florida judge to hold hearing Thursday on request to unseal Mar-a-Lago affidavit. The judge who's overseeing that is actually the same judge who issued the warrant, so it is unlikely that the affidavit will be unsealed before the primary election. The federal magistrate judge who approved the Mar-a-Lago search warrant will hold a hearing Thursday at court in Florida to discuss requests to unseal investigators' probable cause affidavit, which the Justice Department has opposed releasing because it's going to show that the probable cause is weak and that they want to keep this sort of intrigue going till the midterm elections. From NBC News, hearing on unsealing the Mar-a-Lago search warrant affidavit to put DOJ arguments on display. The Justice Department has said unsealing the affidavit would compromise its ongoing criminal investigation in a case that involves national security. This is an article by Darsh Gregorian and Dara. A federal judge in Wyoming has scheduled a hearing Thursday on whether to unseal the affidavit that federal investigators used to justify a search warrant for former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, a point of contention between the government and the former president. A group of news organizations, including NBC News, has filed a court papers asking Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhart to make public the affidavit that convinced him to take the extraordinary step of signing the warrant allowing FBI agents to conduct the search of a former president's home, which is the key here because that's the precedent. So moving on to COVID, what happened to COVID? COVID? What COVID? More and more people say they returned to normal, thank God. I still see a lot of people outside wearing masks, so that just goes to show you that some people have been traumatized permanently. More than half say they have never or rarely wear masks when indoors with people outside their households. There's a new poll from Penn's Annenberg Center. This is an article from the 16th by Tom Avril. It's no secret that some people stopped taking precautions against COVID ages ago. With infections now a fairly low level, a growing number say their lives have returned to normal. Not for long. That's one of the findings at the latest survey of the Annenberg Public Policy Center at the University of Pennsylvania, which has been tracking attitudes and behaviors towards COVID every few months since the spring of 2021. Most people say in the latest survey, completed on July 18th, a national representative sample of 1,500 people was polled via internet and telephone, asked when they expected to return to their normal pre-COVID lives. 41 said they already have done so, up from 16% in January. Well, it is the summer, so it's not really flu season, cold or flu season, so people have to understand that the coronavirus is a cold virus that has been artificially manipulated to make it more contagious, but also to cause the SARS disease in some people. This is from the Wall Street Journal. What exactly is Paxlovid Mouth and how do I get rid of it? The COVID-19 antiviral drug can leave a foul taste. The afflicted are scouring for remedies online. A 56-year-old woman in Montclair, New Jersey, was looking for a reprieve from a persistent residual taste, like her mouth is just clenched around a grapefruit rind, that came after she took Paxlovid, Pfizer's antiviral drug, to treat COVID-19. Pfizer said, acknowledged the side effect called dyschezia, and pointed to a study that found that the symptom occurred 5.6% of the time people took the drug. The study was funded by Pfizer and published in the New England Journal of Medicine. The company said most patients' dyschezia symptoms were mild. The culprit is likely ritonavir, a part of the drug that is used to boost levels of antiviral medicines, doctors say. Ritonavir has been association with dyschezia. It is a small price to pay given the nearly 90% reduction in hospitalization and death among those at risk of severe disease, which is really those risk of severe disease have been mostly older people or people with diabetes. So NPR says the UK approved Omicron-specific booster shots. They're coming to the US soon. This is from the 16th in this article by Becky Sullivan. The United Kingdom has become the first country to approve vaccine boosters designed to target the Omicron variant of COVID-19, paving the way for Brits to receive their shots early this fall. I'm sure they're lining up. Moderna shot approved in the UK is bivalent, meaning it's a mix of two versions of the vaccine. Half is targeted at the original strain of COVID, half is a new formulation designed to fight the original Omicron variant. None of them which work. Sharpen a tool in our armory to help us protect against this disease. Here in the U.S., the FDA has asked the vaccine developers to target the Omicron subvariants, two strains that currently make up the majority of the cases, rather than focus on the original Omicron variant. What does the U.S. want different Omicron variant? Why? The original Omicron variant emerged in late 2021 and blah, 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 blah. This is NPR. Who cares? Nobody cares. Most people say they've gone back to normal, and they've realized that they were victims of scare tactics. And although COVID-19 is a real disease, that most people won't have problems with it, and you take normal preventive measures against getting sick, and you won't get too sick if you stay healthy. Those that are at higher risk should obviously take more precautions. But be aware that if you take a shot, if it protects you at all, it'll only be for a few months. And the last story here is from Fox Business. Healthcare workers fired over vaccine mandate awarded $10 million in settlement. Some plaintiffs will be eligible for $45,000 if they were fired as a result of the vaccine. Illinois healthcare workers who were fired or otherwise impacted by their hospitals' COVID-19 vaccine mandate will receive $10 million settlement after filing a lawsuit challenging the rules. The case centers around North Shore University healthcare system, who filed a lawsuit in October claiming their employee illegally refused to grant any religious exemptions to COVID-19 vaccine mandate. So this might set a precedent, although people that were fired in other fields may not be so lucky, because the exemption here is because these were, I guess, essential workers, and this specific healthcare industry said that they would honor religious exemption, and they didn't. So that was sort of the case in my place of employment. They said, oh, we'll consider religious exemption, but then, of course, they didn't. Liberty Vice Counsel Vice President of Legal Affairs, Horatio Millet, said in a statement that the settlement should serve as a strong warning to employers across the nation that they cannot refuse to accommodate those with sincere religious objections to forced vaccination mandate. Obviously. So we'll see if this becomes a precedent that other people can file suit across the country. So we hope that that's the case. As some of you know, I was let go for refusing the COVID vaccine, filed for sincere religious exemption. It was denied, and I was let go. Good riddance as far as I'm concerned. They could go pound sand. I was a good employee. But, as you can tell, I had political convictions that they didn't agree with as well. So that might have been the real reason. All right, so for me, Rudy's Revelation. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and check me out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Get Our Minds, Parler,
105 North Avenue 52.
and hopefully someday Truth Social. They said they have a Android app, but no desktop yet. So we'll be checking it out. All right, see you tomorrow.
We're in a lot of trouble.